Om Shanti. So in USA, you don't have this expression, but in England, this day is called Boxing Day. And it doesn't mean that you should start fighting. But in the traditions of England, they would give presents on this day. So people would get their Christmas box on 26th of December. And that's why it's called Boxing Day. And they would also go hunting on this day in the traditional life in the countryside. And they would go. So today is Untitled Murli, and there are some words that we may want to look at in a different way from how we get them translated. Because in a translation, it's very authoritarian and pushy. So I don't think God is very authoritarian or pushy. Or what do you think? Is he authoritarian and pushy? Yes or no? What do you think? Baba, yeah. He gives suggestions, but he's not tyrannical. No. For Brahma Baba, he was a very big authority, big patriarch, but if you do that to each other, then we will not be happy, right? So I will change these words. I'll tell you what I'm changing and what I'm changing it into, and you can decide if you think it's okay. Because there are four words really. One is Vyart and Samart. And Samart is usually translated as powerful, and it does mean powerful. And Vyart is translated always as waste, but you can't really think very deeply if you use those words as Baba uses his words, Vyart and Samart. So Samart means it is very significant and full of meaning, and also positive, effective, and produces the results you want. Whereas Vyart means trivial, meaningless, insignificant. And if you pay a lot of attention on things like that, then you're really wasting your time and energy. So he wants us to distinguish between those two things. And if you say powerful and waste, it doesn't give you enough information to make the distinction between the two things he wants us to distinguish, which has to do with how you think, how you feel, how you act, how you interact, how you respond to what's happening. And then the others are obedient and disobedient. So agyakari and avijja. So they put that as obedient and disobedient. And in my world, obedient and disobedient is something you use for dogs that you want to train. Don't put your droppings here, go outside, this kind of thing. And in discussion with Sukanya Ben, we're looking at the Sanskrit roots of these words. And it has to do with, do you understand the knowledge or don't you? Which is different. So if you know what the knowledge is and you go against it, it means you don't know what the knowledge is. And if you know what the knowledge is and you go according to Baba's recommendations, it means you do understand. And the result of understanding is that you get success in what you do. But if you don't understand, then it means that you're doing things according to preconceptions, which means that you will get the same results that you get before Gyan. And so Gyan didn't make any impact on you. So this is really the thing that he's talking about today. So the title is How to Be Constantly Powerful, which means how to be constantly applying understanding of knowledge in every situation. Because the powers that we get, the 8 powers, none of them are to do with being pushy, bossy, authoritarian, tyrannical, or that kind of behavior. But it's to do with staying in your self-respect and functioning according to wisdom. Om Shanti. Today, the powerful Father, mighty Father, who has all the powers, is seeing his master powerful children from all directions. So one group is those who operate according to the powers all the time. And the other group is those who sometimes operate according to what is meaningful and significant. And other times they get drawn to trivial things, insignificant things. That is, even if they don't want to, it's they get distracted. Where there is a powerful stage, it's not possible for you to get pulled to trivial things. And trivial thoughts, meaningless thoughts could not emerge. Babdada saw that some children are still complaining about their waste thoughts, which change their remembrance into complaints. So what is a waste thought? As you're thinking about something according to non-jnani angle on life. And so then that takes you away from Baba. So if you don't want to do that, then you have to think according to Gyan. So the majority no longer has vice-based thoughts most of the time. But you haven't really passed in not looking at Vyart, not listening to Vyart, not thinking about Vyart, and not wasting your time. So the mentality of being critical and wanting to change people's ways and pointing out this or that is not okay. This is all comes under this category called Vyart. Because you know already that everyone is playing their part, predestined role. And so if you're saying that they should not be, it means you don't know Gyan. So that's called, he will say, what? So the reason for this is because you do not set a program for your minds and intellects to be in a powerful stage from Amrit Vela throughout the whole day, then you become upset. So that means to say that you do not apply the knowledge minute by minute by minute. you go back to the Iron Age mentality as soon as you're not in the class or as soon as you're not in meditation in the group. So just as you make a program for physical tasks according to your daily timetable, in the same way, if you set a program for a powerful stage, it means all your thoughts would be meaningful, then you will not become upset. So upset doesn't necessarily mean distressed. Upset means you're not set. You go out of order. So the more you keep your minds occupied with meaningful thoughts, the more you will not find time to be upset. That is, to have thoughts that are according to the old world. In today's world, the higher someone's position is, the higher the IP or VIP someone is, the more he will set his activities according to his schedule. So who are you? They are VIPs, but in terms of you being children of God, and in terms of your Brahman life, in comparison with the people of the world, no matter how many V's they put in front of your name, VIP, like that, it's not enough, because the world is transformed because of you. You are the ones who are like the imaginal cells that cause transformation in the world. Transformation means you cause the world to go back to its original condition. So you are these foundations and supporters that cause the world to be rejuvenated. In the unlimited drama, you are hero actors, and you are the ones whose lives are valuable like diamonds. So how great are you? So your value is calculated by how influential you are. Right? So when you are in your original stage and you influence everyone else to be in their original stage, that makes you valuable. So this pure intoxication makes you powerful, whereas arrogance, body conscious intoxication, arrogance brings souls down. You have soul conscious spiritual intoxication, and this is why it doesn't bring you down. Intoxication, like an ecstasy, like a sense of who you are. This feeling constantly takes you into an elevated flying stage. So the reason you are attracted to insignificant, trivial things is that you do not set a timetable for your minds and intellects. You do not constantly and fully use the art of keeping your minds busy. So your mind is all the time receiving sense information, because your mind is a sensor, and you get visual, auditory, atmospheric, all sorts of information comes into your mind, and you process it according to the ways of the world or according to Gyan. It's up to you. But to process the information according to Gyan, you have to work. You have to pay attention. You have to remember to do it. To process it according to the ways of the world, it's automatic because you're so used to it, so you don't think. So it's called lazy. And Daddy Yankee used to always tell people this is laziness. So Bam Dada has given you Shrimat, that is instructions about everything, your mind, words, actions, relationships, and connections, and told you how to act and live from Amrit Vela until night. So you have been given recommendations and directions about what awareness to have in your minds and what the stage of your minds should be in every action you perform. So it's all about how you receive what comes in through your sense perception. It's entirely up to you. So it's all to do with interpretation. If you receive something at face value, it's very superficial. And if you receive something according to its deeper meaning through the lens of Gyan, then it shifts you to a different mentality altogether, which is what Baba's interested in. So all of you are obedient children, not obedient at all, but you understand what the knowledge is, how to use the knowledge. This is what he means. So, or are you still becoming that? So Agyakari, understanding what this means in relationship to the Father, as those who take the same steps as the Father. That is, you follow the steps that Baba took. So however Brahma Baba interpreted the knowledge in terms of his circumstances, you can do like that also. The other is the relationship of a bride. So if you're married to someone, not an ordinary human, that won't work, but if you're married to God, you want to be so connected that your everything that you do is in harmony with Him. And so that means that you will go with Him. It's like when you dance with somebody. One partner is the lead and the other will follow. So you be that one who follows the lead of the dance partner. And so you place your footsteps in the footsteps of the bridegroom. So to be Agyakari, that means to really understand what this knowledge means, is to put your feet in the steps of Bap Dada's instructions. So take the steps that he takes. So is this easy or difficult? Where should you take your steps? And are your steps accurate or not? So to decide if the steps are accurate, you have to think every time. Think, is this right? Baba says, actually, you shouldn't even need to think about this because it is easy. But as you're moving along through the day, you move away from this and you don't follow one instruction or another in small ways. But because you have moved away from it in small ways, you start to accumulate a small burden. So remember, sin is a weight. So when you do something that's a bit inattentive, just inattention, then it takes the form of a weight. So the attentive ones, those who follow, they do receive blessings from Baba, from all relationships. Because when you get everything right, there's a return that comes. That's called a blessing. This is a law, a very interesting law. When you do things right, it gives you power, blessings. Daddy Prakash Mani used to talk about that half of her success is because of her efforts, and half of it is because of the blessings of everybody. Because when somebody does everything right, there's an energy that comes from the people who see it, and that carries you forward. So this is a law. In a simple way, too, when somebody agrees to directions given by anyone and does that cooperates, then whoever they cooperate with, definitely that person will be pleased with them and will give them blessings. But here, you're working with God and you're getting God's blessings. So the energy you get from going according to God is much more than from cooperating with a human being. But because you receive God's blessings, a soul who acts according to what he wants is always double light and has a flying stage, because you don't have this weight. On the one hand, you don't have the weight. On the other hand, you have an upthrust and the air that keeps the bird flying. So as well as that, in return for being a soul who goes according to his recommendations, you also get willpower. And willpower means if you want to do something, you can. You just do it. Freedom is you do what you want, when you want, how you want, if you want, and not if you don't want. And where your will is lined with Baba's instructions, you get everything done how you want. So that is a special blessing, and it is also an inheritance. It's willpower. The Father wills all the powers to the child, and this is why the child is easily able to attain all powers. So a soul who follows Baba's recommendations, who has attained willpower, also attains blessings and an inheritance and good wishes. That means there's so much positive energy around you. You just move forward on that current. So because of this, that soul is constantly dancing in happiness and singing songs of va, va. It's not wa, it's va. I know why they write wa. And it continues to fly, for his every action enables him to experience immediate fruit. Understand? So the actions are the seed. And if the seed is like this powerful, really, according to Baba's recommendations, then the fruit would be according to that, wouldn't it? So without having to labor, they automatically receive the immediate fruit of their actions. Everything works well. Just as your body stays healthy by eating fruit, in the same way, because of the immediate fruit of their actions, those souls remain constantly in their power. So the second way to remain constantly powerful is to be constantly following Baba's recommendations naturally. And such a powerful soul constantly and easily flies and reaches the destination of becoming complete and gets the stage of being close to the Father. So you know how Baba interacts with us. When we do everything the way he says, you're close. If you slightly don't, then he moves away. And that's how it is. So the reason for being attracted to the waste, the trivial, the insignificant, is that you're not going according to Baba's recommendations. And why you are not doing that is because inattention. So yoga is to pay attention. You are not like this inattentive in major aspects, but in small ways. So, for example, the main and first instruction is you must practice purity and conquer lust. And the majority of you pass in following this instruction. Even the innocent mothers pass in this. You pass in what the world considers to be impossible. But the second brother of these 5 brothers, greed, anger, lust, attachment, ego, the second one is anger. So the biggest one is lust, then second one is anger. So half of you fail in that sometimes. And you become very clever. You make excuses and you say, well, I didn't get angry, but I had to be a little firm. I don't get angry, but I do have to maintain my authority. So you made the impossible possible. You practice to be free from lust, but you don't have a problem with the little brother. So what would you call this? Are you following Baba's directions or not? So even a small movement away from following the directions is another one that you only half follow the discipline of Amrit Vela. So you get up and you sit down, but do you attain success by following the method given by the Father's recommendations? Do you set yourself in a powerful stage at Amrit Vela? So you do sit and experience sweet silence, but you also mix that with the sweet silence of sleep. If Bab Dada would show you your weekly news on television, you would enjoy it a great deal. So you follow half the instruction. You become Neminat. You remember I told you this word Neminat? So Neminat means you go according to the rules. So you get up, you sit down, but that's it. You do not become the incarnation of success. So what would you say? There are small instructions you have been given, such as do not cause sorrow. That means do not cause harm for another soul and do not take sorrow. With this too, you do not cause sorrow, but you do take sorrow. And the reason for having these trivial thoughts is that you take unnecessary sorrow. You have to analyze yourself that how often is it that you interpret what somebody else is doing as a mistake that you had made that caused it, which it didn't. It's nothing to do with it. Or somebody loses their temper and throws all that at you. It's nothing to do with you. You were just there in the crossfire. So you hear something, somebody says something, and it goes on and on in your mind, even if you don't want it to, saying, why did this person speak like this? Or you say, yeah, this person is right when they start criticizing something. This should not happen, da da da. So you forget that every moment of drama is predestined. It's quite difficult to keep on with this awareness that it's all predestined and therefore you have to be a detached observer. So the mind has had the habit of listening to and looking at insignificant things for 63 births, and this is why it is still attached to that, attracted to it. And this is the movement away from what Baba is telling. And this makes your minds heavy. And because your mind is heavy, you cannot fly into a high stage. This is the deep philosophy of karma. The burdens of sins of the past do not allow you souls to fly, the weight. And in the same way, the weight of going against Baba's recommendations in small things in this birth doesn't allow you to experience the stage that you want. There's very, very refined checking he's talking about. Because people get influenced by something that happened in the past or something you see in the present. When Bab Dada asks how you are, everyone says we are very well. And then when he asks you, is your stage as it should be, you become quiet. Because of this, the burden of having gone against Baba's recommendations doesn't allow you to be constantly in your power. So today, remember this slogan. Do not use your mind to think about things that are insignificant. Do not look at things that are trivial. And do not listen to things that are waste. You know, people who do this are the controller types. You do this. Why are you doing this? Where are you going? This is somebody who has this habit of being a controlling type. They also go into all these details of this is not right and that's not right and become a big complainer, right? So these are all connected. So your mantra is to protect yourself from thinking, seeing, wasting time, talking about things that don't matter. You have gone beyond doing bad things. Now, paint an image of the divine character of following Baba's recommendations. And if you do that, you will be constantly in your power. Acha. All of you teachers are artists. Do you know how to paint a picture? You know how to paint a picture of your elevated activity, don't you? So the greatest artists are those who paint an image of their character at every step. And because you paint an image of such activity, your inanimate images endure for half the cycle. So what is he talking about? You're an artist painting a picture of your elevated character. That means you're attentive to the impact of everything you do. When you are an artist painting someone's portrait, you're attentive to the details of the face. And the expression on the face is reveals what's happening in the mind. So when you're painting a picture of your elevated character, it is that the attentiveness that you have on how you are, how you feel, and how you interpret things, and all these details. You're just like very aware that you're on camera all the time. Somebody's looking at you and seeing everything that's going on. You know, Madhuban is called the Palace of Mirrors. And this is because it's very, very high energy there. And everybody can see everything that's going on in everybody's mind because of that. And so if your mind and responses and so on are all according to Baba's instructions, you will look very good. And there's a difference between looking good syndrome, where you try to make people think that you're looking good, or actually looking good. So he's giving us all these hints how to do that. That you teachers are the instruments to make the activity of others elevated. What do people do? They copy each other. And so whoever they think is wonderful, marvelous, and fantastic, they copy them. And so if you make yourself like that, they'll copy you. And that's called being a teacher. So you keep yourselves busy with this, don't you? Keep yourselves fully busy. If you let your minds and intellects be idle for even a second, they will be attracted by waste thoughts. So there is this belief in India, which is represented by the story of the businessman who always was exploiting his workers and making them work so hard that they couldn't handle it. So there was a complaint about him, and a genie came along and said, "Okay, I'm going to sort out this problem." And he said to the businessman, "Okay, you can employ me, but there are conditions. That if you don't give me enough work to do, I will eat you up." So the businessman said, "Well, I don't have any problem giving people enough work to do, so come on." And within a few minutes, this genie had finished everything, and the businessman got really worried that, what am I going to do? Because he's going to eat me any second now. So he went to consult Brahma or somebody like that, who told him, "Okay, what you do is whenever you don't have any work for your genie to do, you tell him to set up a pole and go up and down the pole." And this is a story that represents how you should handle your mind. So your mind is this genie, and if you don't give it any work to do, it will eat you up with depression and negative thoughts, complaints, whatever. And so, in order to prevent that situation, you tell it to go up to the soul world and come down and go up and come down and do meditation exercises. So, you were told that always to receive the immediate fruit of doing service is a sign of a soul who's always following Baba's recommendations. Sometimes you receive the immediate visible fruit of doing service, and sometimes you don't. And why is this? It is because there is some level of not doing it according to Baba's recommendation or another. So if you're a teacher, it means you take every step according to the steps of Baba's instructions from Amrit Vela until the night time. So are you such teachers, or is there sometimes carelessness? So carelessness means that you kind of revert to Iron Age way of being. So do not be careless. You are wearing the crown of responsibility. And sometimes when your crown feels heavy, you take it off. So you are not those who take it off, are you? So you could be a teacher for some hours and then you go and be an ordinary person after that. Then that's called taking off your crown. So to not be ordinary anytime is what he's saying. So all of you are teachers, but such souls who stay in that awareness, they are called worthy teachers, competent, and yogi teachers. They stay with Baba. Teachers can never complain. What the teachers often do is complain. This student is like this and that student is like that, etc. So you are the ones who make others complete. That's a teacher, not the ones who complain. So what is this complaining and things all about? Is you want students to arrive on time, do what you tell them to do, So you become a controlling type. And so that's not the kind of teacher that Baba's interested in. So you are the ones who make others complete and not the ones who complain, right? You can never write such letters saying, what can I do? This happened. This should not have happened. Writing such letters has finished, hasn't it? You were told earlier, definitely write a letter, definitely send a letter to Madhaban, but with 2 words, 2 lines. I am always okay. Dear Baba, I am okay. Love from whoever you are. So those who have to read these letters don't have time. If you write long, drawn out letters, you then complain that you did not receive an answer to your letter. Actually, Bab Dada definitely gives an answer to your letters in the Murli every day. You write okay, and in return for your okay, Bab Dada gives you love, remembrance, and namaste. Is that not a response? Time has to be saved. Write service news in short. Then there will be economy of time, economy of paper, economy of postage. You can economize. A letter can be written in 3 pages. Can you write a letter 3 pages long? I think we keep it to 1 page, right? If you have been given a direction to write in detail, then you may write. But to ask forgiveness for your mistake can also be written in 2 lines. Do not hide anything, but write it in short. There are many letters written that have no essence in them. You say to Baba, do this work for me, make me well, put my business right, make my wife okay. Such letters don't come once, but they are sent 10 times. The devotee is always telling God what to do. But we are jnanis, so we shouldn't be doing that. So become the incarnations of economy and inspire others to do the same. You all enjoy this mela, don't you? The big gathering of BKs. The people of the world say the mela takes place for 2 days when they go for big religious gatherings, but your mela takes place for 4 days. Does everyone enjoy this mela? The people from India go to Madhavan for about 4 days, and from foreign they would go for 2 weeks. Now we'll see what happens. Acha, to the constantly powerful souls in all 4 directions, to the children who go according to Baba's recommendations and who remain with that at every step, who are world transformer souls and who transform anything trivial into something meaningful, to the artist children who paint the paintings of their own activities, love, remembrance, and namaste from powerful Bap Dada. In Bap Dada meeting a group from Bombay and Gujarat. Do you consider yourselves to belong to the unlimited Father? That is, that you are the children of the one who is the master of the unlimited. A child is a master. because you had the inheritance from your father, so that makes you a master, right? This is why Bap Dada, as master, salutes the children. You are the children who are the masters of the unlimited inheritance of the unlimited Father. So when Baba's the master, he's Malik, and children are master, English Hindi mix. So you have the unlimited happiness of the unlimited inheritance, wouldn't you? The Father places the children ahead of himself. He gives you children the right to the kingdom of the world. He does not keep that right for himself. So you have the right to the present and the future, and both are unlimited. There will not be any limitations in the golden age, will there? Not of any language, color, or land. Here there are so many limitations. They have divided the sky into sections. This is my airspace, your airspace, like that. There are no limits there, no borders, boundaries, frontiers. So you have the unlimited fortune of the kingdom. But those who are going to attain the unlimited fortune of the kingdom must first go beyond any limitation of their physical bodies at this time. So if you go beyond the limitation of physical body consciousness, then you will be able to go beyond all other limitations. That means preconceptions, racism, casteism, religious limitations, national limitations. All these are limitations, right? So this is why Bap Dada says, first of all, become detached from all bodily relationships, including your bodies. First, your bodies. That means gender consciousness, color consciousness, age consciousness, all this stuff. And then your bodily relationships. This is mine, this is not mine, these are our people, these are not our people, like that. So have you gone beyond the consciousness of those bodies? The limitations of a body will never take you up above. Your body is clay, and clay is always heavy, especially wet clay. A dead body, when you burnt it, becomes dust. Now, how heavy is the ashes of a dead person? Do you know? Maybe 10 grams, 20 grams? I don't know. I never tried to weigh it, but it's not much. It's in grams, not kilos. So anything made of clay would be heavy, wouldn't it? So your bodies are old clay. So what would you get by getting trapped in an old clay pot? Nothing at all. You remember the Kauravas were born in clay pots, right? In the story of the birth of the Pandavas were born miraculously by the gods. And the Kauravas were iron, little pieces of iron, and they were put in clay pots filled with water. So it's a difference between the body conscious BKs and the soul conscious BKs. But without Baba, we could never figure out the meaning of the symbolism. So always have the intoxication that you are the children who are masters of the unlimited Father. And that also means you are masters of the unlimited inheritance. When you have to become a child, do not become a master at that time. And when you have to become a master, do not become a child at that time. That's very important. When any advice has to be given, when a plan has to be made or a task has to be accomplished, do that as a master. That means take charge. But when anything is finalized by the majority or by the instrument souls, then become a child at that time. A child means you go along with the decisions that get made. So this is a method to have harmony in the big gathering. So at that time, do not become a master saying, oh, my idea is the only good one, my plan is the only good one. No, do not become a master at that time because it creates conflict. Those who know when to become an advisor and when to become one who follows the advice given will not fluctuate and not get upset. They will remain successful in their efforts and in the service they do. They are able to mold themselves and make themselves bow down. Bow down doesn't mean bow down. It means that you will accept the decision of the majority. You know, when you want to move a mountain from A to B, it's difficult. And so there are certain moments when you can push and other moments where you can't. You have to know the difference. So those who bow down, that means those who accept their situation, they always receive the fruit of service. Whereas those who have their own ego do not receive the fruit of service. So you want to do something, everybody else doesn't. You do it anyway, you won't get good results. So the way to achieve success is to be a child and a master. Be a child at the right time and a master at the right time. Do you know this method? If you try to prove a minor thing right by being a master when you need to be a child, then it would require more work and you would receive less fruit. However, those who know the method will receive more fruit for less labor, according to the time. They will be constantly smiling, they will remain happy themselves, and they will also be happy seeing others. It should not be, I am always very happy, but you have to make others happy as well. Then only you can be a king. If you mold yourself, you will definitely go right to the golden age. Have you tried working with 24-karat gold? It's very soft, so soft you can't actually make any jewelry with it because it won't stay in that shape that you put it. That's why the highest is 22 karat to keep the shape. So the blessing is, may you keep yourself busy in both ways, physically and subtly, and become a victorious conqueror of Maya. Consider yourself to be a server and keep yourself busy doing service with interest and enthusiasm, and Maya will not then take a chance. When you are free in your mind, in your intellect, or in your physical actions, Maya takes a chance. If you don't have anything much to do, you can slide into depression, complaints, moving away from who you really are. However, keep yourself happily busy doing service in both ways, physically and in a subtle way. And because of your happiness, Maya will not have the courage to oppose you. Courage means you don't get into a fight unless you're sure you will win. So Maya's pretty good at that. If Maya doesn't see any opportunity, leave it. So be your own teacher and create a daily program to keep your intellect busy, and you will then become a victorious conqueror of Maya. And the slogan is, say with faith and intoxication that Baba is with me. Is he with you every time, every moment? Yes. And then Maya will not be able to come close. Shanti. So some very practical tips. Many people, they ask for tips, right? So that was lots of tips. Do we have lots of questions? Nope. Yes. Can I translate the meaning of Nischay? You translate the meaning of Nischay, and then I will say something about it, because you're the master of language. Yeah, really? I know. There are many different words for faith. And in English also, there are many different words. You have trust and faith and belief, and I'm sure there's lots more. But tell me, what is your thought about Nischay?
How we understand it is Nishchay means, firm, determined faith, a conviction that I'm
Conviction.
totally convinced that, yes, Baba is with me and going along with that.
Yes. So that's it. That's the answer. I remember one time, we used to meet Bap Dada individually. And one of the things that Baba said to me is, remember, I am always with you. And I said, okay, I'm going to hold you to that, because that's a good one. You're always with me. And I definitely experienced that, and it's really to do with your relationship with Baba. Because if you don't have a relationship with Baba, I don't think you can actually develop these convictions and make them a reality. It becomes more theoretical. So, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, we would often see how Baba, how Prakash Muni Dadi had, had upper hand over Baba.
Oh, she did. She did. And I remember one time I was with her in the Tower of Peace, and we were just chatting. And she said, can you see him? He was like circling around in the Avyat form. And yeah, you could perceive. She could see, I could perceive. And so her relationship with him was that as a bride of God, she followed everything so accurately and so continuously that he had no choice but to do what she wants. And he would, and she would tell him, no, you have to do this. And okay, I'll do. We saw this. And it's a very interesting thing that you can get a relationship with God such that, and I saw Daddy Jenki had that relationship with the drama. She would make drama do what she wants, because she was, she had this relationship with drama based on a situation that she had once with Brahma Baba, or was she Baba? I don't know which one. But anyway, Baba said to her, you insulted my daughter. And she said, oh, I did. And she checked herself. Which daughter did I insult? And she couldn't find. So she went 2-3 times to Baba about this. And eventually he said, you think that such and such an event was not good, because she got assaulted once and she thought that was not good. And He said, you can't say it's not good. Everything in drama is good. So don't insult my daughter. Drama is my daughter. And so she created this relationship with drama that everything is very, very good. So if you can do that, a bit of Daddy Janki firm relationship with drama and a bit of Daddy Prakash money firmly following Shiv Baba's directions, Brahma Baba's footsteps, then you have it made. That's pretty good. Because what you observe in the world is all, jamela, this chaotic behaviors of all the people, and it can overwhelm you, it can carry you away, it can make you feel bad about yourself, take sorrow, this type of thing. Yeah. So we have a question. What are the methods Baba is referring to regarding Amrit Vela? And so in Amrit Vela, you have to give yourself a program. What are you going to discuss with Baba? Because you get answers. I experienced this very, very well. If you have something that is not clear to you about a point of knowledge or anything, and you want clarity in Amrit Vela, you get it. You get the idea will come through. And when you have clarity from not having clarity, that puts you in a very powerful stage. And then you can just hold that stage and just pull energy from Baba. That's a very good thing. But if you don't prepare yourself for Amrit Vela, then you're just sitting there like, as someone put it, a lump on a log. Or you sit there thinking Baba has to do the work. No. You go to Amrit Vela, you're having an appointment with God. He is there. And, okay, what do you want to talk to me about? And sometimes he says you have to go into the depth of the titles that he has given to you. Trinetri, Swadarshan Chakradari, Master Almighty, Master of the Inheritance, whatever. So your work with the Murli in the day is a very good preparation for the next day morning Amrit Vela, because you have stuff going on between you and Baba. Because when you study the Murli, you are communing with the mind of God, because the Murli comes from his mind. And that is a kind of manmana bhav. And that really keeps you up. Because especially in COVID times, a lot of people are kind of flat because there's nothing to do. Not many big programs, nothing to get excited about. You have to sit home and, do your work, which is not very interesting. And so you have to have something going on which is going to keep you interested and enthusiastic and like that. And if you work with the Murli, you do actually get wealth and stimulation, which then means that you arrive in Amrit Vela in the morning with stuff to say. And that's very good. Because we always have to remember that yoga means focusing your mind on his mind. And what's in his mind is the knowledge. So working with the knowledge and interpreting how you use the knowledge to interpret what's going on, such that you get to see how good it is and how much advantage you are getting from all these things which present themselves often as not very good. But when you look at it with depth, it's the best, right? But then are you taking advantage of it? The more you see how advantageous it is, the more you take advantage. And when you experience taking advantage, you definitely feel good. You're in your power. And then you will be motivated to actually do the things that he says because you're getting it. And that's really good.
There was a real life situation somebody mentioned that happened quite recently. A young couple in their early 30s, the husband wanted to celebrate the wife's birthday, and so they went to Mexico for that. And they were having a very good time, evening time together, and they were strolling on the streets. And there was a gang war all of a sudden, and everyone was running helter and skelter. But in that, the wife got shot, and the husband found that out, and he is now living with the survivor's guilt, which is very hard for him.
Yeah. This is something that sometimes people don't realize when they go on holiday somewhere to a holiday location, that it's very dangerous. And there are some parts of Mexico where the drug cartels have a lot of influence, total influence. And there is warfare between these drug cartels. And so you need to know that when you go to one of these parts of Mexico, there is risk. But doing anything, anywhere, there's risk, somebody could run a red light when you happen to be going through and crash into you. So when something like that happens, the biggest problem is you say, if only we had come 1 minute later or earlier, if only we had gone down another street, if only we had gone on a different day. But this knowledge of drama is, everything is predestined. And there is a lot of belief in a lot of cultures that your moment of death is also fixed. You cannot die earlier or later than that moment. And in many ways, the science of astrology, or art and science of astrology, is about trying to predict these moments according to the position of the stars and so on. Because people don't like that they don't know. And one who is a very high level yogi always knows the moment of their death in advance. And so it's not surprising. But for most people, you don't know the moment of your death. And many people, they live old and they die slowly, and everybody knows, any day now this one will die, and that person knows. And that's called like timely death. But untimely death is very upsetting for people. So sometimes Baba says in the Golden Age, there's no untimely death. But untimely death is like an accident happens. There was a story in the news from a couple of days ago that in North Hollywood, just down the road from here, a Mexican girl was celebrating her 15th birthday. And as the custom in Mexico, this, how do you call it? Quinceañeras. So she was with her mother in this big department store, Burlington's, and she was trying on a dress for her birthday in the store. But outside, there was some person with mental health problem who was being violent, and they called the police, and the police thought he had a gun, and they shot, and the gun went through the wall of the compartment where the girl was trying on her dress and killed her on her 15th birthday, just down the road here. There is nothing you can do. It's like a stroke, death comes like that. And you cannot blame anyone. I was interviewing Anwar Sadat's wife a few years ago, and she and her husband were student activists in Egypt in those days, and he became president. But there was always a risk of assassination for him. And every day she would worry he will go out to do his work and not come home because he will get killed. And he said to her, look, the date of my death is fixed. It cannot happen a day earlier or a day later. So when I have to die, I will die. You be clear about that. One day he did get assassinated. And that was it. So assassination does happen. Somebody intends to assassinate someone, or you get killed in the crossfire, or something happens. And we're learning in this Gyan more and more that there are just so many things. There's nothing you can do. It happens like that. So many instances. And nobody is to blame. It's just, he says to us, you are actors in this drama. Your body is a costume. And when your part is finished, there will be something that is instrumental for you to leave your body. And what is very, very difficult for people is to manage untimely death as survivors. But Baba gives us tons and tons and tons of angles on that. But then we have to process the information to a point where we become able to handle this type of thing. Because there is a question of karma, there is a question of role, there is a question of destiny, and when it happens, it happens. And so we have to accept and move on. It's not easy. And the feelings that you have, especially doubt and the if only, the bargaining, the anger, the distress, all of these emotions, they weaken the soul when you give vent to them. And so Baba's teachings and the strength that he gives us does allow us to accept severe things like this when they happen much more easily than someone who doesn't have it. And then you have to let it take the time that it takes if you don't have the strength, because you have to work through it however long it takes. But nothing you can do.
I had a question on similar lines, and you have touched upon it, but my question was between a parent and a child relation, when you are when you yourself are understanding and learning at the same time you are raising a child, and there are situations where you become you become the cause of something, and it can be very small, like eating habits. For example, eating habits. You introduce an eating habit, and that takes a different shape, and the child goes on eating unhealthy food, and then you see how the health has, how her health has been impacted, or his health has been impacted. Or you make a decision of marrying a child into a family, and that is a completely disaster. And that was your decision to find that suitable boy, thinking that that's the right thing. So as small as an eating habit, which flares up to be causes obesity in a child, or a marriage, then how do you come to terms with that when you see that because of your ignorance, that's caused a big
you have to see that you are not responsible for another person's destiny. You are not the cause of another person's karma. You make a decision in good faith, right? Or you say something in good faith. You should eat like this and not like that, and people won't do it. Even people say to me, "Oh, you should do this and not that." I say, or Chandraben, she says, "If I eat what you tell me to eat, I'll be miserable. Let me eat what I want to eat." And so you have to work out the balance. And there are definitely things that happen which are not good, and you have to say, okay, check yourself. Was I careless? No, you weren't. Did I not know something that I should have known? Yes, but there's no way you could have known it. So it's like it's out of your hands. So you have to do whatever is within your power and in good faith, and the consequences of it is not under your control, because there are just so many things that you don't know. That person who got married with that unsuitable person, but they had a karmic account which you didn't know about, you couldn't know about. So you do your best, but destiny is powerful. Sometimes somebody is destined to do something or have a position or whatever it is, and other people don't want it. They don't like the idea. So they do everything possible to stop it, but you can't. If it's destined, it will happen. And the thing I think that it's what we're learning in Gyan is to be able to process the information that happens and interpret it, that, okay, this didn't happen because of me, it happened in spite of me. You see, because you're doing everything you're doing in good faith, but a bad thing happened anyway. Sometimes Sheep Baba would say, if through Brahma Baba some bad thing happens, Sheep Baba will fix it. He says that. And then the other thing is, there are lots of apparently bad things that happen, but depending on how you handle it, it's like no big deal. Sometimes you have to go through a lot of suffering, but then your expensive, heavy-duty suffering gave you a lesson that all the money in the world wouldn't buy you. You got it. You understood something. And so it became an instrument for you to be free in some other way, you see. So we cannot take things at face value. And So that's the thing.
Isn't ignorance also carelessness?
No, ignorance is not carelessness. If you are ignorant in the sense of you do not know something, but you've done your research, but you just don't know, that's not carelessness. Like, you know, in United States at the moment, there are a lot of people who are in prison for something they didn't do. And in some cases, it's because evidence was suppressed and hidden. In some cases, it wasn't available. In some cases, the only way they could be exonerated was because of DNA, which was not available in earlier times. And so, though there was ignorance, sometimes it's carelessness, sometimes it's malevolence, and sometimes it's you couldn't know. And if you're careless, inattentive, not paying, not doing your due diligence, and so on, then you are accountable. You see, this is why also Baba asks us to check. Check what you're doing, check your motivations, check your interpretation, check to see to what extent something is influencing you that doesn't have to influence you. Check to see that you're not motivated by self-doubt. Check that your trauma is not limiting you, and you have to work through it and get beyond it. There are so many complications in all of this that I think we have to keep studying, keep looking at it, and when things happen, sit with them and learn from them. What is the lesson in this? Because every cloud has a silver lining. But we cannot say, I am responsible for this other person's destiny. It's already there. So we are not as free as we think. And it's quite difficult to get the balance between being responsible appropriately and not taking responsibility for something you're not responsible for. Because as in the case of the girl who was shot in the crossfire of a gang war, there's nothing you can do. This is Kali Yuga, there's bad things happen, really bad things happen.
So I have a question on the same lines, couple of questions. So one thing is based on the past, things happen. It could be karmic account, it is drama and stuff. And how to discern you're not creating new karmic account now, which is propelling to your future, or it is not because of the consequence of the past. So how to differentiate whatever karma you're doing because you're under the predestined force, or you are creating new stuff which is going to create mess for you tomorrow.
The nature of karma is it creates a trend. And it's very interesting to me that Baba says your action becomes a sin, not it is a sin. Or your action becomes punya, not it is punya. And this energy of the direction of a karma or a pattern of karma, which is negative karma, it arrives at the present moment and it hits Shrimat. You see, when you don't have Gyan, it doesn't hit Shrimat, it just hits you. But when it hits and it hits Shrimat, it gives you choice, which when you don't have Shrimat, you really don't have choice. So, for example, the trend of karma is to arrive in a situation where your sanskaras is to respond to that stimulus in the way that you generally do. It means according to your sanskaras. But then Shrimat will come along and say, well, you can't do that because you've got to be celibate, you've got to be vegetarian, you've got to be this and that and the other. But your karmic trend is one that wants you to go against Shrimat. So because you have Shrimat, you have choice. If you didn't have Shrimat, there's nothing to go against. You just go with your sanskaras. And so there is this conflict between sanskaras and Shrimat. And then you have to decide, you're going to go with Shrimat? I mean, this Murli was really about that. Or are you going to go with your sanskaras, which means you're not going to go with Shrimat even a little bit, but it'll create weight, which means your karmic trend still has power over you, so you're not karmatit. But if you block that trend with a combination of following Shrimat and yoga and renunciation and all the rest of it, then you finish that karmic energy, you see. So this is called finishing sins. It's quite good, huh? But it's not so easy because the circumstances, the maya, the this and that, you'll find all kinds of ways and means of thinking that you're following Shrimat when you know very well you're not. But when you follow Shrimat and you haven't not followed this trend, you're creating a new trend. And this is what is meant in BK when they say make new sanskaras.
And my experience is that when I'm not following my old habit, then I become very anxious and uncomfortable. And I'm not really sure what is up and what is down, except to use the intellect and review the knowledge and very tentatively try a new approach.
Yeah, this is why sometimes Baba says, close your eyes and follow Shrimat. Because your trend, your way, you're very comfortable in it. There's an expression that people prefer the hell they know than the heaven they don't know, you know. And so to actually take a risk of living a different way in terms of how you interpret things, how you feel about yourself, etc., that is such a big deal that you have to really close your eyes and jump off the top of a building and know that there'll be a net underneath. This is called risk. You know, being in Gyan is very risky because of all this. You doing something totally against everything you know, and all the other people you know will say, "What are you doing?" You know. And yet, if you take that risk, what you get is so extraordinary. And if you don't take that risk, you never know what you didn't get. And you carry on in same old situation. And you jump from the frying pan into the fire. You know, and here you jump into the fire, definitely, but different type of fire. It's the fire of yoga as opposed to the fire of hell. Both fire. He says sometimes lust is the pyre where you get burned because, you know, you get attracted by somebody and then afterwards it goes the other way. And with Gyan, you have a nice experience, you take up Gyan, and then, you know, it's also called the pyre of knowledge because it's a purification process. So this is also quite distressing. And yet you have to really understand that, yes, if I do this and forget about my bodily relations, etc., and do this correct karma, though I'm going into something I don't know, where there are many challenges, no doubt, but yet it's taking me to freedom. You see, so you really have to ask yourself this question: why am I doing Raj Yoga? Why? Because it makes you free. No other reason. And who will make you free? God will make you free. Truth will make you free. And you do become free. And that is mukti, jivan mukti. And you become karmatit, free from karmic bondages, and you become close to God, and you become a soul, not a soulless body kind of thing. But you're all the time under attack from Maya, from this, from that. So, okay, no, never mind. Have a nice day. Let's go. Mm.
So the second question on the lines of the situations that we just heard, I heard from Anthony Bai. He was sharing in one of the classes. One sister told him that I don't have this kind of problem because I don't even engage in any of these things. And then he responded to that saying that, oh, that's a miserable way of living life. So you're not even engaging in anything. I don't expect any happiness from any of this thing, and I live like a sannyasi kind of thing. And that's when he made a statement that that's not what we do in Raj Yoga. We don't live a dry life. But at the same time, we need to have that balance of where to take happiness from. So if I take happiness in a relationship and that person is gone, it will definitely be a disaster. So how much to invest, how much not to invest, where to invest, if you can elaborate on soul conscious love versus
the thing is,
attachment.
You're giving me an example which is incomplete. And so I can't really comment on it because it doesn't give enough information, because I don't know who that person is or what their situation is exactly. But the thing is this, we have a family, Brahmin family. Yesterday we had a few of us together for Christmas, and it was really very nice. There were several musicians in the family. We had a beautiful concert from Kyoko, who has now been doing concerts almost every day. And so for her to give us a continuous hour of harp music, gorgeous. And we had Meher singing and Elizabeth singing, and we had really nice food together, and there was no tension. Everybody was easy with each other. It was not like some kind of memorable thing that you want to put on video and send all around the world, but it was really pleasant family feeling. And when people are lonely or they have recovering from different life traumas or whatever, what do they want? Is they want the warmth of the family, where you trust people, where they really love you, and there's no other agenda. And I thought that the yesterday's Christmas was a very good example of that. And there wasn't any feeling that, oh, I'm being greedy or this or that. It was really nice food. We had really nice gifts. Everybody was like easy about the whole thing. And we don't have to sort of keep ourselves like a sannyasi, as Anthony was saying, afraid to live. Nobody was afraid to live, but also nobody was in any kind of hidden agenda trying to get something out of somebody that would get in the way of your relationship with Baba. And I think that, Anthony, you're talking about Anthony Strano, yeah? So he was a very loving, highly humorous brother who was facing endless obstacles from people who were jealous of him all the time. But he managed. Life is not so easy, but when we get moments like we had yesterday where everything just was nice, and we say, yeah, this is really good what we have, what Baba has created is really good. Okay, so let us have a few moments with Baba.